The massive crystalline dome of the Galactic Council's judgment chamber pulsed with an eerie blue light as Ambassador Marcus Reynolds stood alone on the central platform. 57 alien species represented on tiered seating surrounded him, their murmurs creating a cacophony of clicks, whistles, and rumbles. The 7 high counselors, representatives of the founding species, sat elevated above all others, their expressions unreadable. Humanity stands accused of illegal technological advancement, unauthorized militarization of deep space, and deliberate concealment of capabilities, announced Grand Arbiter Vix, her translucent appendages rippling with bioluminescent patterns. How do you respond, Ambassador? Marcus straightened his shoulders, seemingly unintimidated despite being the sole human in a chamber filled with beings who had mastered interstellar travel millennia before humans discovered fire. The Council imposed restrictions on Earth that no other emerging species has ever faced, Marcus replied, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. You denied us access to gravitational manipulation technology, quantum communication networks, and biomechanical integration systems, all standard technologies granted to species at our development stage. The Drell representative, a mantis-like being standing twice Marcus's height, chittered angrily. Because your species demonstrates dangerous psychological patterns. Your history is written in blood. Marcus smiled, not the diplomatic smile of a man seeking approval, but the confident smile of someone holding cards yet unseen. Which is why we adapted, he said, activating a holographic display. Council intelligence suggests Earth has developed primitive versions of restricted technologies. That's incorrect. The hologram expanded, showing a massive orbital structure unlike anything the Council had documented from Earth surveillance. This is Prometheus Station, not a primitive attempt at restricted tech, but something entirely new, something beyond your understanding. The chamber erupted in outrage. The Xanthian delegate, representing one of the most technologically advanced species, leaned forward. Impossible. Our monitoring systems would have detected. Marcus cut him off. Unless we figured out how to hide them. The Council has underestimated humanity from the beginning. You saw our conflicts and called us violent. You saw our divisions and called us weak. You never considered that perhaps these very challenges made us uniquely capable of innovation. The High Counselor of the Archon, the oldest species in the galaxy, raised a gnarled appendage for silence. You were restricted for your own protection, Ambassador. Certain technologies require evolutionary maturity. So we were told, Marcus replied. But I'm not here to apologize or beg forgiveness. I'm here to inform you that in 1 hour, we will activate the Prometheus network, and when we do, the balance of power in this galaxy will fundamentally change. Grand Arbiter Vix's bioluminescence flared crimson. This is a direct violation of Council mandate. Guards, detain the human representative. As armored sentinels moved toward the platform, Marcus remained perfectly still, his smile never wavering. I wouldn't do that, he warned. In fact, you may want to check your ship systems. You'll find they're no longer responding to your commands. The chamber fell silent as delegates frantically consulted their personal devices, panic spreading visibly through their ranks. What have you done? Whispered the Grand Arbiter, her luminescence dimming to a dull blue. Demonstrated why the Council should have worked with us instead of restricting us, Marcus answered. Humanity doesn't want war, Arbiter. We never did. But we will not be controlled through fear. The real question isn't what we've done. It's what happens next. Behind the Council chambers in a secure room aboard the human diplomatic vessel, Commander Lydia Ortiz monitored the unfolding situation. As head of Earth's security detail, she had opposed Marcus's risky strategy from the beginning. Status update? She demanded, watching as her team of specialists worked at their stations. Ambassador Reynolds' neural implant readings are steady, reported Lieutenant Diallo. He's remarkably calm for someone who just threatened the most powerful governing body in known space. Lydia frowned at the holographic display showing the Council chamber from multiple angles. And the Prometheus activation sequence? Running according to schedule, Commander. 37 minutes until full network deployment. The door slid open, admitting Director James Holloway, Earth's intelligence chief and the architect of their current strategy. Unlike Marcus, whose confidence seemed unshakable, Holloway's face showed the strain of months of preparation. The Archon representative has requested a private audience, he said without preamble. Off the record, no official channels. Lydia's eyes narrowed. The Archon? They never engage directly. Which is why we need to hear what they have to say, Holloway replied. They're the oldest species in the Council. If anyone understands the true power dynamics at play, it's them. It could be a trap, Lydia pointed out. The perfect opportunity to capture both our ambassador and intelligence director. Holloway shrugged. Perhaps. But I'd bet my career the Archon knew about our technological advancements long before today. They've been watching us differently than the other species. On the main display, they could see Marcus still standing calmly as Council representatives argued among themselves. The initial shock was wearing off, replaced by strategic calculation as each species considered what humanity's sudden reveal meant for their position in galactic politics. The Prometheus network isn't just about technology, is it? Lydia asked quietly, pieces falling into place. It's about information control. The Council maintains power through technological disparity, Holloway confirmed. They decide which species gets access to what technologies and when. We're not just challenging their authority over Earth. We're threatening the entire system they've built over thousands of years. Lieutenant Diallo's console chimed urgently. Commander, we're detecting energy signatures consistent with weapons powering up on 3 Council vessels. Expected, Holloway said calmly. They're posturing, not attacking. Their military protocols require authorization from at least 5 High Councilors for any aggressive action against a diplomatic delegation. Lydia wasn't reassured. Unless they decide we're not a diplomatic delegation but a security threat, then we'd better make sure the Prometheus network activates on schedule, Holloway replied. Because once it does, military action becomes irrelevant. Back in the Council chamber, Marcus could feel the mood shifting. Initial outrage was giving way to calculation as representatives considered the implications of humanity's unexpected technological leap. The Tari representative, a feline being whose species had joined the Council relatively recently, approached the platform. Unlike the others, she seemed more curious than threatened. Ambassador Reynolds, she said, her voice carrying the musical quality common to her kind. You speak of changing the balance of power, yet humanity is still confined largely to a single solar system. How can you hope to challenge a council that spans thousands of worlds? Marcus regarded her thoughtfully. By understanding something the council forgot long ago, Delegate Jotar. True power doesn't come from controlling resources or technology. It comes from unleashing potential. A philosophical answer to a practical question, she observed. In 23 minutes, you'll see there's nothing philosophical about it, Marcus replied. The Prometheus network isn't a weapon or a shield. It's a key, one that opens doors the council has kept locked for millennia. As Jotar returned to her position, the Grand Arbiter's voice cut through the chamber once more. This council will not be blackmailed, Ambassador. Whatever your Prometheus network may be, the combined might of 57 spacefaring civilizations will not bow to human demands. Marcus shook his head slowly. You misunderstand, Arbiter. We're not making demands. We're offering a choice, a fundamental redesign of how species interact across this galaxy. The Council can be part of that future or resist it, but you cannot stop it. As the countdown to activation continued, Marcus knew that humanity had crossed a point of no return. Whatever happened next would echo across the stars for generations to come. 3 days after Ambassador Reynolds' confrontation in the Council chamber, Dr. Eliana Vasquez paced nervously in the control center of Prometheus Station. As Chief Science Officer, she had overseen the development of the technology that had just changed humanity's position in galactic politics. They've dispatched a fleet, announced Admiral Thomas Harrington, studying a holographic display showing the movement of Council vessels. 17 capital ships, including 3 Archon dreadnoughts. As expected, Eliana replied. They can't allow our challenge to go unanswered. Have they attempted communication? Nothing official. Just positioning their fleet at the edge of our system. The control center hummed with activity as technicians monitored the Prometheus network, an interconnected system of quantum nodes hidden throughout human space. What the Council didn't know was that the network extended far beyond Earth's solar system, with nodes secretly placed near major Council worlds over the past decade. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission, called out Communications Officer Park. It's from the Tauri representative unofficial channels. The holographic display shifted to show Delegate Zotower, one of the few council members who had advocated for lifting restrictions on Earth. Dr. Vasquez, the feline alien, began, her voice tight with concern. The council is divided. The militarist faction, led by the Drell and Xanthians, is pushing for immediate action against Earth. They believe your Prometheus technology represents an existential threat. And what do you believe? Delegate, Eliana asked. That there is more to this situation than a simple violation of council mandates. I've studied human history. Your species consistently excels when cornered. The council's restrictions may have accelerated the very developments they feared. Admiral Harrington leaned into view. The council fleet is now within striking distance of our outer colonies. Their intentions seem clear. Not all council members support military action, Zotor insisted. But I must warn you. The Drell have deployed their psychic specialists. They believe they can disable your network by attacking the minds of your key personnel. Eliana exchanged glances with Harrington. This was an escalation they hadn't anticipated. Thank you for the warning, Delegate, Eliana said. But perhaps you should tell the Council about Phase 2 of the Prometheus Protocol. Phase 2? Jotor's ears flattened against her skull. What is Phase 2? Instead of answering, Eliana activated a sequence on her console. Throughout the control center, monitors displayed a countdown. For centuries, the Council has maintained power through technological superiority. Eliana explained. That era ends today. The Prometheus network isn't a weapon, Delegate. It's something much more significant. It's a gift. As the countdown reached 0, thousands of quantum nodes activated simultaneously across the galaxy. On countless worlds, council homeworlds, colony planets, space stations, and outposts, communication systems suddenly displayed the same message in each species' native language. From humanity to the galaxy, knowledge should be free. What have you done? Jotor whispered, her eyes wide. We've just transmitted complete technical specifications for faster-than-light communication, advanced medical technologies, and sustainable energy systems to every inhabited world in Council space, Eliana answered. Technologies the High Council has restricted to maintain their power. The average citizen of the galaxy will now have access to innovations their governments have withheld for centuries. Admiral Harrington's console chimed urgently. Dr. Vasquez were detecting massive energy signatures from the Council fleet. They've armed weapon systems. They can destroy this station, Admiral, Eliana said calmly. But they can't stop what we've started. The information is already spreading faster than they can contain it. On the holographic display, Zotor's expression shifted from shock to something approaching admiration. The Council will call this an act of war. We're calling it liberation, Eliana replied. And now we'll see which the galaxy prefers. In the depths of Prometheus Station, Director Holloway watched the data streams with intense satisfaction. Years of covert operations had culminated in this moment. The most significant intelligence operation in human history, information dissemination, has reached 87% of target systems, reported his assistant. A young intelligence officer named Rivera. We're seeing initial downloads on every major council world. Holloway nodded, his attention focused on a separate monitor showing emergency council communications they'd managed to intercept. The reaction is exactly as we predicted. Chaos in their command structure. The military hardliners want immediate retaliation, but they can't agree on what to target now that the information is already spreading. Sir, Rivera said hesitantly, the Archon channels have gone completely silent. No communications whatsoever from their ships or homeworld. This was unexpected. The Archon, as the oldest and most technologically advanced species, should have been coordinating the Council response. Their silence was concerning. Redirect resources to monitor Archon movements, Holloway ordered. If they're not talking, they're planning something. At that moment, Dr. Vasquez entered the command center, her expression a mix of excitement and apprehension. Director, we've detected unusual activity in the Prometheus nodes nearest to Archon space. They're being accessed at an unprecedented rate. By whom? Holloway demanded. That's just it. The access signatures match Archon technology, but the data being retrieved isn't what we provided. It's as if they're using our network to distribute their own information. Holloway felt a chill of realization. They were waiting for this. The oldest species in the galaxy, with technology centuries beyond even the Council's understanding. They've been waiting for someone to build a network like ours. But why? Asked Eliana. What could the Archon possibly need from us? Before Holloway could respond, the station's alarms blared. On the main tactical display, the Council fleet had changed formation, separating into smaller battle groups. They're moving to surround Earth's orbital defenses, Admiral Harrington announced as he rushed into the command center. Standard encirclement tactics, but something's off. The Archon dreadnoughts aren't participating. They're holding position at the system's edge. Sir, Rivera called out. We're receiving a direct transmission from the Archon High Counselor. He's requesting a private audience with Earth's leadership, outside of Council protocols. The room fell silent. The Archon were notorious for their isolation, rarely communicating directly with younger species except through Council intermediaries. This goes beyond a simple response to our technological defiance, Holloway said quietly. The Archon see something in humanity that the rest of the Council doesn't. Something worth breaking thousands of years of diplomatic precedent. On the tactical display, the first wave of Council vessels began moving toward Earth's defensive perimeter. Whatever the Archon's intentions, they would have to wait. Humanity's immediate challenge was surviving the coming assault. Admiral, how long can our defenses hold against a determined Council attack? Eliana asked. Without the Archon ships? Days, perhaps a week, Harrington answered grimly. But that assumes conventional tactics. If they deploy their more exotic weapons, temporal disruptors, consciousness-targeted phasers, we have countermeasures. But they're untested. They won't use those weapons, Holloway said with quiet certainty. Not yet. The Council will try to make an example of Earth without revealing their full capabilities. They need to demonstrate control, not devastation. Which gives us time, Eliana concluded. Time for Phase 3. Harrington and Holloway both turned to her in surprise. Phase 3 wasn't scheduled for deployment until next month, Holloway objected. Eliana's smile carried a hint of defiance that seemed characteristic of humanity's new position in galactic affairs. We accelerated development after Ambassador Reynolds' confrontation with the Council. Phase 3 is ready now, and if I'm right about what the Archon are doing with our network, we're going to need it sooner rather than later. As the Council fleet advanced toward Earth, the true nature of humanity's defiance was still unfolding. The Prometheus network had been just the beginning, a foundation for something far more profound than even the Council could imagine. And as for the Archon's unexpected interest, only time would reveal their true intentions. Captain Darius Wright felt the first psychic attack while commanding the defensive perimeter around Earth. It began as a subtle pressure behind his eyes, then rapidly escalated to searing pain as the Drell psychic specialist targeted key human military leaders across the system. Status report, he managed through gritted teeth, gripping his command chair as the neural assault intensified. Council fleet has divided. Sir, reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Rivera. 2/3 maintain position while a strike force approaches Mars' defense perimeter. They're deploying something new. Appears to be some kind of psychic amplification vessels. The bridge of the UES Defiant swam before Darius's vision as the Drell attack intensified, targeting his motor control and decision-making centers. Standard military neural shielding was failing against this concentrated assault. Activate Protocol Phoenix, Darius ordered, his words slurring as he fought to maintain consciousness. Lieutenant Rivera's fingers flew across her console. Protocol Phoenix activated, Captain. Neural interface engaging. Across human space, military personnel were connecting to a system that had remained humanity's most closely guarded secret, an adaptive neural network designed specifically to counter psychic interference. As Darius connected, the pain receded, replaced by a sense of expanded awareness. In the Council fleet, Grand Strategist Kolvex of the Drell observed with growing alarm as human resistance to their psychic attack suddenly strengthened. Impossible, he hissed to his subordinates. Their minds should be incapacitated. Increase psychic output to maximum, but something unexpected was happening. Not only were the humans resisting, but their neural pattern was changing, adapting and pushing back. On the Defiant, Darius opened his eyes, now glowing with a subtle blue light, the visible manifestation of Protocol Phoenix. Every human connected to the system was experiencing the same transformation. They underestimated us again, he said, his voice steady. Lieutenant Rivera, prepare counteroffensive. Across the neural network, Thousands of human minds united in a collective defense that turned the Drell psychic attack back against its originators. On council vessels, Drell specialists began collapsing, overwhelmed by the unexpected counterattack. "What is happening?" demanded Grand Arbiter Vix, watching in horror as reports flooded in from disabled ships across the fleet. The Archon High Counselor, oldest and wisest of the council leaders, turned his ancient eyes toward her. "They have achieved collective consciousness," he said, his voice heavy with implications. "A theoretical stage of development we believed was millennia away for any species." "That's not possible," Vix insisted. "Human brains are not structured for collective thought." "And yet," the Archon replied, "they have adapted their technology to overcome their biological limitations. This is why I cautioned against restricting them. In forcing them to find alternative paths of development, we may have accelerated their evolution beyond our ability to predict or control." On Earth, in a secured facility beneath the Olympus Mountains, Dr. Mira Jakande monitored the global neural network with growing excitement. As the architect of Protocol Phoenix, she had theorized this potential outcome but never imagined it would manifest so powerfully. "Consciousness integration at 87% and rising," reported her assistant. "Drell psychic attacks are not only being neutralized but redirected. Our people are learning their techniques simply by experiencing them." Mira studied the data streams with fascination. "The neural plasticity is remarkable. We're not just defending, we're evolving in real time." On her primary monitor, a communication request flashed from Ambassador Reynolds at the Galactic Council. "The Council is in emergency session," Marcus reported when she accepted the call. "The Drell attack has backfired spectacularly. Now they're demanding to know how humans developed collective consciousness capabilities." "We didn't. Not until they attacked us," Mira explained. "Protocol Phoenix was designed as a defensive measure, but the massive psychic assault created a catalyst effect. They've essentially forced our evolution." Marcus couldn't hide his smile. "So our secret weapon wasn't a weapon at all until they gave us one." "Precisely. And there's more. The neural patterns we're observing suggest this change isn't temporary. The human consciousness is being permanently altered by this experience." "Altered how?" Mira's eyes gleamed with excitement. "We're becoming something new, Ambassador. Something beyond what either we or the Council anticipated, and I don't think there's any going back." In orbit around Jupiter, Admiral Harrington watched the tactical displays with growing confidence. The Council fleet's coordinated attack had dissolved into confusion as the Drell psychic specialists withdrew. Their attack not only neutralized but turned against them. "The Xanthians are regrouping," reported his executive officer. "Looks like they're preparing for a conventional assault without Drell support." Harrington nodded, feeling the strange new awareness of Protocol Phoenix humming in his mind. The neural network connected him not only to his own fleet, but to every human military vessel in the system. He could sense their positions, their status, even the general emotional state of their crews. "Deploy defense platforms Alpha through Delta," he ordered, "and inform Earth Command that we're initiating Phase 3. "Sir?" his XO questioned. "Phase 3 wasn't scheduled until—" "I know. But the circumstances have changed. The Prometheus network was about sharing information. Protocol Phoenix was about defending our minds. Phase 3 is about demonstrating why the Council should never have underestimated humanity in the first place." As his officers carried out his orders, Harrington opened a direct neural communication to Director Holloway and Dr. Vasquez on Prometheus Station. "The Archon are still holding position," Holloway reported through the link. "They haven't joined the attack, but they haven't withdrawn either. It's as if they're waiting for something. Or observing," Vasquez suggested, her thoughts flowing clearly through the network. The Archon High Counselor specifically mentioned collective consciousness as if it were significant to them. Harrington considered this. Could that be what they were waiting for? A species to achieve what we just did? Before they could explore this further, a priority alert flashed through the network. The Xanthian fleet was launching what appeared to be temporal disruptors, weapons designed to create localized disruptions in the flow of time, potentially trapping human ships in temporal stasis. They're escalating beyond conventional weapons, Harrington realized. "Initiate Phase 3 now." Throughout the solar system, hundreds of previously dormant satellites activated simultaneously. Unlike the Prometheus network nodes, these devices weren't designed to transmit information. They were designed to manipulate the very fabric of reality. On the Xanthian flagship, Fleet Commander Trazul watched in disbelief as his temporal disruptors simply vanished midway to their targets. What happened? He demanded. Where are our weapons? His science officer studied the readings with growing horror. They've created localized gravity lenses throughout the system. Our disruptors didn't vanish, they were redirected into artificial wormholes. Impossible. That technology is beyond even our capabilities. Nevertheless, the science officer reported grimly, the humans have achieved it. And there's more. Those gravity lenses are expanding. They're creating a network of spatial distortions that our sensors can't penetrate. Trazul slammed a clawed hand onto his command console. Pull back the fleet. We need to regroup and consult the council before He never finished the sentence. Throughout the Xanthian fleet, every system simultaneously shut down. Weapons, propulsion, even life support, all disabled by an invisible pulse that passed through their shields as if they weren't there. Back on Earth, Mira Giocondi watched with satisfaction as Phase 3 unfolded exactly as designed. Gravity manipulation technology, she explained to Ambassador Reynolds through their neural link. The very technology the Council most feared humans developing. Why? Marcus asked. Because it could be weaponized? Because it's the foundation of everything else, Mira replied. Whoever controls gravity controls space-time itself. The Council restricted us from this technology, not because they feared we would use it destructively, but because they knew once we mastered it, we could never be controlled again. Across the neural network, a new presence suddenly manifested, ancient, powerful, and distinctly non-human. Every connected human felt it simultaneously, the unmistakable consciousness of the Archon High Counselor, somehow accessing their collective network. Children of Earth, the ancient being communicated, its thoughts carrying the weight of millennia. You have achieved what we have waited eons to witness. The time has come for truth. Throughout human space, everyone connected to the network experienced the same vision. The true history of the galaxy, not as recorded by the Council, but as witnessed by the Archon themselves. And within this revelation lay the answer to why humanity had been singled out, restricted, and tested beyond any other species. The Council had never been about protecting younger species. It had always been about control, and about finding a successor for a role the Archon had carried alone for millions of years, as Dei. The Galactic Council chamber had never seen such chaos. 2 weeks after the failed Drell psychic attack, emergency sessions had devolved into accusatory shouting matches between factions. The Prometheus Protocol had unleashed a galaxy-wide information revolution, with previously restricted technologies proliferating across planets and systems faster than authorities could contain them. Order. I will have order, demanded Grand Arbiter Vix, her bioluminescence flashing angry red patterns. This body must present a unified response to the human transgression. What unified response would you suggest, Arbiter? Asked the Tauri representative, Zotar. Half the Council worlds are already implementing human technologies. My own people have increased their medical capabilities tenfold using the freely shared knowledge. The Drell representative rose, his mantis-like form trembling with rage. The humans have committed an act of war, first by violating technology restrictions, then by attacking our psychic specialists. After you targeted their leaders with an unauthorized psychic assault, Zotar countered, an action not approved by this council. As the argument intensified, Kerzakath, the ancient Archon High Counselor, observed in silence. The Archon, as the oldest species in the galaxy, rarely intervened directly in council matters, preferring to guide from the shadows. But today would be different. Kerzakath rose slowly, his movement immediately silencing the chamber. When an Archon spoke, all listened. This council faces a moment of truth, he began, his voice resonating with unnatural clarity. For 20,000 years we have guided the development of younger species, imposing restrictions we claimed were for their protection. Yet we must now ask ourselves, were these restrictions truly benevolent, or did they simply preserve our position of power? Shocked murmurs spread through the chamber. Never had an Archon questioned council policy so directly. The humans have revealed our hypocrisy, Kerzakath continued, and in doing so, they have changed the fundamental balance of this galaxy. I propose direct negotiation, not with human ambassadors, but with their newly emerged collective consciousness. Grand Arbiter Vix's luminescence paled. You cannot be serious, High Counselor. Direct neural engagement with an unpredictable emergent consciousness would violate every security protocol. The old protocols have failed us, Arbiter, Kurzakath interrupted. I will make contact personally. Before anyone could object further, Kurzakath activated a device on his ceremonial armor. A holographic interface appeared, displaying a direct communication request to Earth's neural network. On Earth, Dr. Mira Jakande received the unexpected connection attempt. It's the Archon High Counselor, she told her team, astonishment evident in her voice. He's requesting direct neural interface with Protocol Phoenix. That's unprecedented, Admiral Harrington replied through his own neural link. The Archon have never shared their consciousness technology with any species. Perhaps they recognize we've developed something similar independently, Mira suggested. Should we accept? The question rippled through the human neural network, with thousands of connected minds considering the implications simultaneously. Collective decision-making had become humanity's new normal, with the network allowing for unprecedented cooperation while preserving individual identity. Consensus reached, announced the system. Connection accepted. As the neural interface established, Mira watched in fascination as Archon consciousness patterns merged with the human network. What followed was not communication in the traditional sense, but a direct exchange of concepts, memories, and understanding. The Archon's revelation stunned the human collective. The restrictions placed on humanity had never been about protection. They had been a deliberate attempt to guide human development toward a specific, evolutionary path, one that the Archon themselves had followed millions of years ago. You wanted us to develop collective consciousness, Mira realized. The understanding spreading instantly through the network. The technology restrictions forced us to explore neural integration instead. Kurzakath's consciousness pattern confirmed this truth. More shocking still was his second revelation. The Archon had been searching for a successor species, one that could eventually replace them as guardians of galactic development. But why? The question formed within the collective human mind. The answer came not in words but in shared experience. The Archon were dying. Their species had reached an evolutionary dead end, with each generation less capable than the last. They needed a successor, and they had identified humans as the most promising candidates millennia ago. As the neural connection terminated, Mira found herself shaking with the implications of what she'd learned. The council chamber, too, had fallen into stunned silence as Kurzakath collapsed, the effort of the connection having drained his ancient form. What did you do? Demanded Grand Arbiter Vix, rushing to the Archon's side. Kurzakath looked up, his eyes revealing a profound weariness. I told them the truth, Arbiter. Something this council has forgotten how to do. In Earth's command center, Mira turned to Admiral Harrington, her expression grave. The Archon didn't just share information. They transferred something to our network. Some kind of evolutionary template. A gift? Harrington asked. Or a final gambit, Mira replied. Either way, humanity has just inherited the legacy of the oldest civilization in the galaxy. And I'm not sure we're ready for what comes next. Director Holloway entered the command center, his face ashen. Since the emergence of humanity's collective consciousness, he had been coordinating with governments worldwide to manage the unprecedented transformation of human society. The Archon data transfer is spreading through our networks faster than we can analyze it, he reported. It's not just information, it's restructuring the architecture of Protocol Phoenix itself. Mira nodded, her eyes fixed on the data streams. The Archon consciousness technology is millions of years ahead of ours. They've given us an evolutionary shortcut. But to what end? Admiral Harrington asked, voicing the concern that echoed through the collective consciousness. What do they expect us to become? Before Mira could respond, Ambassador Reynolds' voice came through the neural network. The council is fracturing, he reported from the council headquarters. After Kurzakath's collapse, several species are withdrawing from council authority. The Tari have officially recognized Earth as an independent power. The Drell are threatening military action against any world that implements human technologies. And the other Archon? Holloway asked. Silent, Marcus replied. Their entire delegation has withdrawn to their ships. But there's something else. Reports are coming in from across council space of Archon artifacts activating. Ancient technologies that have been dormant for millennia are suddenly powering up. Mira felt a chill of understanding. "It's not just about finding a successor," she said quietly. "The Archon are preparing for something they've anticipated for a very long time." As if confirming her suspicion, a new presence manifested in the neural network. Not Kurzakath this time, but a collective Archon consciousness. Ancient and vast beyond human comprehension. "Children of Earth," the presence communicated. "What our representative began, we now complete. The Ascension approaches, a galactic event that occurs once in millions of years. We have guided this galaxy since the last Ascension. Now that task falls to you." Through the network, every connected human received a vision of cosmic scale. A massive energy wave approaching from the galactic core, a phenomenon that would transform all matter it touched. The Archon had built their entire civilization around preparing for this event, developing technologies to harness its power and protecting worlds that would otherwise be destroyed. "How long do we have?" Mira asked through the connection. 17 of your years," came the response. "In that time, you must master the technologies we have safeguarded, unite the fractured council, and prepare all sentient species for transformation. This is the purpose for which you were chosen." As the Archon presence withdrew, the implications rippled through human consciousness. In less than a month, humanity had gone from an isolated, restricted species to the inheritors of a galactic legacy. "Well," Admiral Harrington said after a long silence, "I think we can safely say the Council underestimated us even more than we realized." Mira nodded, her mind already racing with possibilities. "We need to establish direct communication with every Council species. If the Archon are right about this Ascension event, the old political divisions are meaningless. And if they're wrong," Holloway asked, "if this is some kind of test or manipulation?" "Then we proceed with caution," Mira replied. "But either way, humanity's position in the galaxy has changed forever. The Council tried to contain us, but instead, they've made us the center of the greatest transformation in galactic history. Across Earth and its colonies, as humans adapted to their new collective consciousness and absorbed the Archon knowledge, a new understanding emerged. The path forward would not be easy. Many Council species would resist human leadership, and the Archon legacy carried burdens as well as gifts. But for the first time, humanity faced the future not as supplicants to a greater power, but as architects of a new galactic order. 1 year after the Prometheus Protocol changed the galaxy, Earth hosted an unprecedented gathering. Representatives from all 57 Council species assembled not in a council chamber, but in an open-air amphitheater on the slopes of Mount Kilimanjaro. Ambassador Marcus Reynolds, now serving as Earth's first galactic minister, addressed the assembled delegates. The neural luminescence that had become common among humans cast a subtle blue glow across his features as he spoke. "A year ago we stood accused before the Council," he began. "Today we welcome the Council to Earth not as subjects, but as partners in a new galactic order." In the front row, Grand Arbiter Vic sat beside Kurzakath, the ancient Archon who had changed everything with his revelation. The Archon's health had deteriorated further, his once imposing form now fragile and supported by advanced medical technology. "The Prometheus Protocol was never meant to be a weapon or a power grab," Marcus continued. "It was humanity's answer to artificial limitation, a choice to share rather than hoard knowledge, to elevate rather than dominate." Around the amphitheater, holographic displays showed the transformations occurring throughout human space. The collective consciousness that had emerged from the Drell attack had stabilized into something unprecedented, a neural network that preserved individual identity while enabling unprecedented collaboration. Humans now existed simultaneously as individuals and as part of a greater whole. "But today marks a new beginning," Marcus announced. "With the generous guidance of the Archon, humanity has developed the Universal Consciousness Interface, technology, that will allow any species to connect to a shared neural network without losing their unique perspective or cultural identity." Murmurs spread through the assembly. Some delegates looked intrigued, others apprehensive. Dr. Mira Jakandi stepped forward, the neural luminescence around her more pronounced than most, a sign of her deep integration with the collective. "What the Archon revealed to us was both humbling and inspiring," she explained. "For millions of years they guided galactic development, nurturing promising species while allowing natural evolution to take its course. But they always knew they would not last forever. She gestured toward Kurzakath with profound respect. The Archon's final gift was to share their accumulated wisdom, not just with humans, but through us with all sentient species ready to receive it. Kurzakath rose shakily to his feet, addressing the assembly with effort. The council was created to guide and protect, he said, his voice barely audible. But over time it became about control and hierarchy. The humans reminded us of our original purpose, to elevate all life toward its highest potential. From his ceremonial robes, he produced a crystalline device of extraordinary complexity. This contains the complete history and knowledge of the Archon, 20 million years of exploration, discovery, and wisdom. We entrust it not to humans alone, but to all species through the Universal Consciousness Interface. Grand Arbiter Vix stood abruptly. This violates every tradition of the Council. Species must evolve at their natural pace, not be artificially advanced. A convenient argument for maintaining power disparities, Marcus observed quietly. But ultimately, each species will choose for themselves. The interface is an invitation, not a mandate. As if on cue, Delegate Jotar of the Tari approached the stage, her feline features resolute. The Tari wished to be the first to connect with the universal interface, with human guidance. One by one, representatives from 38 species stepped forward, indicating their willingness to participate. Even more surprising were the Drell, who had been humanity's most vociferous opponents. Our attack on your minds revealed capabilities we did not anticipate, admitted their representative. We would study this connection cautiously. As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Jakande joined Marcus at the edge of the amphitheater, gazing out over the African savanna where humanity had first evolved. "Do you think we're ready for this responsibility?" she asked. "To essentially guide galactic evolution?" Marcus smiled. "Not alone, no. But that's the point of the interface. We guide each other." The Archon tried to carry this burden alone and eventually faltered. Our strength lies in cooperation, not domination. And yet, humanity now stands at the center of a galactic transformation, Mira observed. Not through military might or technological superiority, but because we chose to share when others would hoard. The Council restricted us, believing they were preventing a threat, Marcus said. Instead, they created exactly what the galaxy needed, a species that understood the value of defiance. Above them, the evening sky filled with the lights of thousands of ships from across the galaxy, drawn to Earth not as conquerors or suppliants, but as witnesses to a new era, one in which humanity had indeed become stronger than anyone imagined, by making everything around them stronger too. As Kurzakath had told them in that first neural connection, true power isn't measured by what you can control, but by what you can liberate. In defying the Council, humanity hadn't just secured its own future, it had transformed the galaxies. Admiral Harrington watched the gathering from the Orbital Command Center, still preferring his military duties to diplomatic functions. The past year had seen not just political transformation, but practical preparations for the coming Ascension event. "Director Holloway has arrived," announced his aide. Holloway entered the command center, his appearance changed by the neural enhancements now visible around his temples. "Quite the gathering down there," he observed. 17 species have already begun the interface integration process. "And the others?" Harrington asked, watching and waiting. "The Xanthians remain particularly resistant. They've withdrawn to their home systems and accelerated their military buildup." Harrington nodded thoughtfully. "Not unexpected. The power shift was bound to create resistance. But less than we anticipated," Holloway noted. The Archon knowledge transfer changed everything. Seeing their oldest mentors essentially abdicate to humanity carried enormous weight with most Council species. On the main view screen, they could see a live feed of Kurzakath speaking with several delegates. The ancient Archon's health was failing rapidly, his species' final decline accelerated by the massive consciousness transfer he had initiated. "He won't survive the month," Holloway said quietly. "When he goes, the last direct link to the original Council founders goes with him." "All the more reason to ensure his legacy endures," Harrington replied. "How are the Ascension preparations proceeding?" Holloway brought up a galactic map showing hundreds of points of light, Archon installations that had remained dormant until recently. We've activated 63% of the defensive grid. The gravitational shielding network should be fully operational within 3 years, well ahead of the ascension wave. And the evacuation protocols for threatened systems? Proceeding, though, with resistance in some sectors. Not everyone believes in the ascension, even with Archon evidence. Some see it as a human plot to consolidate power. Harrington shook his head. After all this, they still underestimate us. If power was our goal, we could have used the Prometheus network very differently. Below on Earth, as night fell on the gathering, Mira Jacande stood alone at the edge of the amphitheater. Through the collective consciousness, she could sense the minds of billions of humans across Earth and its colonies. A vast, harmonious network of thoughts and emotions that somehow preserved individual identity while creating something greater than the sum of its parts. More fascinating still were the non-human consciousnesses now joining the network alien minds with fundamentally different perspectives and cognitive structures. The interface adapted to each species, creating bridges of understanding that transcended language and cultural barriers. "It is beautiful, isn't it?" came a voice behind her. Mira turned to see Kurzakath, his frail form supported by a hovering medical platform. "Beyond words," she agreed. "But I still wonder if we're truly ready for this responsibility." The ancient Archon's eyes crinkled with what might have been a smile. "No species is ever truly ready. My own ancestors faced the same doubts when the previous custodians passed their legacy to us." "There were others before the Archon?" Mira asked, surprised. "Many. The cycle is ancient beyond reckoning. Each ascension brings change, and each change requires new guardians." He gestured toward the stars appearing in the darkening sky. "We chose humanity not because you were perfect, but because you were adaptive. Your species faces challenges and emerges transformed rather than broken. Like with the Council's restrictions," Mira realized. "Precisely. Where others might have surrendered to limitations, humanity defied them, and became exactly what the galaxy needed." Kurzakath's voice grew fainter. "Remember this wisdom when you guide the next generation of species. Sometimes the greatest strength emerges from adversity." As the ancient Archon departed, Mira gazed up at the stars not as distant points of light, but as future homes for a humanity no longer bound by the Council's restrictions. The path ahead would not be easy, but it would be theirs to define. In defying the Council, humanity had found not just freedom but purpose, and in the vast cosmic drama of the approaching ascension, they would write the next chapter of galactic history, not as subjects but as authors of their own destiny.